Well, our robotic vacuum cleaner that I call Rosy has a problem, and so I've taken her apart, and I think I know what the problem is, and I wanted to share that with you in case you have the same problem with your vacuum cleaner. I looked up the error message online, and it seems that other people are having the same problem. So this is the Neato XV-11, and it's a robotic vacuum cleaner that works really well. And I'll put a link in the corner of another video that I did as an introduction to this that shows its operation and stuff. It's very interesting how it works. And this is the base of it, if you will, and I pretty much stripped it down. I'm interested in the battery terminals and how it's hooked into the power rail here, and we'll go over that in a minute. The error that the LCD screen was showing was, it said battery issue, and then it had some numbers 002, 008, and 009. And if you look that error up on the Neato website, that says battery not connected. And sometimes it'll also flash a 003 and 004, and that's battery low. And there's also a 005, or sorry, 0005, and that says battery issue. And there's also a 0006. Anyway, all these point to some sort of a power problem. And so I stripped it down to this point, and I think I found out the problem. Let's go ahead and look at that real quick, and I'll show you how you can fix it if it's yours. And really, I don't think I had to strip it down this far, but I did. So we'll have a look inside and see how this thing works as soon as I show you the problem. Let's go ahead and flip this over. So this is the underside here, and you can see these connectors inside here. Let me grab a battery real quick. So these are the battery packs that fit down in here, and then these connectors that have 4 pins on them connect in here. And I replaced the batteries completely. I bought brand new batteries. So that's not the problem, and that error still comes up. But on closer inspection, I noticed that one of the pins, see if I can get a shot of that. Right here, one of the pins is been pushed down, and it's the 3rd pin from the bottom coming up. I'll try to get a tighter shot here. Anyway, that pin is not touching inside this when you plug this in, and that just so happens to be these 2 yellow wires. And I did some testing and found out that the 2 wires are a thermistor setting inside this pack, and what that does is it measures the temperature, and of course if this gets too hot, it'll shut the power down so it doesn't fry the batteries, you know. And then the 2 outside wires is, you know, your positive and your negative. Anyway, the computer recognized that the thermistor wasn't connected properly, and it gave that error message of, you know, like 0005 or whatever. Anyway, I think all I have to do is take a pair of needle nose pliers and just pull up on that connector a little bit so it's making contact. And perhaps, since I'm already in here, I can go ahead and pull that harness, which is down here, right down in that hole, right down in there, and maybe put some hot melt glue or something on the back side of these so that doesn't happen again. Anyway, short answer, if you're having this problem, is to take a pair of needle nose pliers and grab the pin that is down and then pull up on it. And I think that would solve most any problem. Now, if you feel more ambitious, you can open yours up. Now, I didn't film how I did that, but there's other videos about that. But you can pull it apart like I've got it, and then go ahead and put hot melt on the other side. And I'll go ahead and do that to mine now. And then, since I have this open and stuff, it's pretty interesting. I thought I'd go ahead and do a little tour of all these little parts and what's inside this thing that makes it tick. I've got some extra parts over here that I took off the top too. And we'll just go over it briefly. And we'll also take a look at this onboard computer. This is actually a computer that's running a version of Linux that controls, you know, the navigation of this thing. And it has lots of sensors and stuff and motors and that sort of thing. So let's get into it a little deeper. Okay, so now that I have all my pins level, I'm going to go ahead and take some hot glue and just put it on the back side of that connector so that it doesn't pull out again, hopefully. Hate to do this, but I don't really want to change that connector out. Now, of course, if you don't take yours apart, you're not going to be able to do this. But if you feel the need, you know, you can certainly take yours apart just like I did. So I'll let that dry up, and I'm also going to do the other side too, so that should fix it, hopefully. So for those of you that are watching this video because you want to fix your vacuum, you can go ahead and skip to near the end of the video and see if my fix worked. I find this vacuum so fascinating. It has so many switches and motors on it, and even a computer, that I thought I'd go through some of the pieces and show you what they all do. So if you're not interested in that, just skip to the end of the video. Anyway, let's go over some of these sensors that are on here. And I think you'll get a better appreciation for this vacuum. So on the front side here, we have some micro switches. There's one here, and there's two on the sides. And those are for bumpers. And it's not on here right now, but there's a bumper that sits on here. So if it taps an object or the wall from either the front or the side, it lets the computer know that not to do that again. And let me grab the cover real quick. Right here, there's a sensor. It's an infrared sensor, and it shines out the side right here. So it's shining out this side. And there's an infrared light and a receiver, and it measures how close it is to the wall. You can see there's the wire for that. All this stuff comes back and plugs into this computer. If we flip it upside down here, there's a window here and a window here. And these are also infrared sensors. And these are called drop sensors. And if it's going to fall, like if it comes too close to a stairwell or something like that, it'll stop it from falling. So these are also infrared. Right here in the front, this is a bin sensor, and the vacuum has a pickup bin like this, and all your dirt and dust goes in there. There's a filter on the back. And if this isn't present, this sensor will let you know that you need to replace this before you can use the vacuum. And there's also a sensor that lets you know when this is full. And that must work off pressure. I haven't actually found the sensor for that, but I know it exists for sure. Now on the back of this, this is a laser guidance beacon. And this actually spins, and you can see there's two holes here, and one of them is the receiver and one of them is the actual beacon. And if you've ever used one of those electronic levelers where it makes like a line on the wall, that's what this does, but it makes like a graph, and it's able to measure the room basically and figure out where it's at. It maps and navigates, and so it makes up a picture of your room in the memory. And that way, if this thing needs to go back to a particular place, it has the map of that room in the memory. Quite fascinating, really. Also, as a sensor, I don't know if you'd call it a sensor, but on the back, there's two prongs, and these are the prongs that back into the docking station to charge. You can also charge from a charging port that's here. See if you can see that. But it also will bump into this, and you know, there's a ground and a positive lead here. There's a big resistor here. I'm not sure why they have that there. Maybe so it puts a load on the power supply. I'm not really sure. Also, on these wheels fit in these slots right here. And there's also two micro switches down here. And so if this wheel is up off the floor, it detects that, and it knows if it's, you know, off its wheels. If somebody picked it up or it's gone over an object and gotten stuck, it knows it because each one of these wheels has a sensor. There's one here and one here. So you can see there's a ton of sensors on this thing. Let's go ahead and talk about the motors. This first one right here is for the beater bar. Let me grab that. And this is the bar that rotates and, you know, flicks the dirt up into the vacuum. And this works on hard floor as well as rugs. And I noticed that there's also a sensor on it, and it looks to be magnetic. So it's probably measuring the RPMs of the motor, or if it gets stuck, you know. Let's say this picks up some hair or something that gets stuck. This will sense that the motor stopped. And of course, another motor that's on here is for this laser guidance system. And you can see it's a belt driven by a motor that sits down here. And this is designed to run at lower RPMs. And we're going to try to get this going, and I'll use the infrared camera, and hopefully we'll be able to see the pattern that this projects on the wall. And it's always moving like this. We'll see if we can see that later in the video. That'll be exciting. Also, I took it out, but here is the actual suction motor. And that also has two sensor wires on it, probably for RPM. It's probably like a computer, you know, a big computer fan, except the blades are shaped more for vacuuming. And if we flip this over, you can see where this fits in this hole here, just like this. And that's what creates the suction to go this way. And it actually goes to the filter that would sit here. And of course, I showed you the battery compartments already. And again, they also have a sensor here. You could probably see on this one where that strip is in there, just under the plastic. And that's probably a thermistor, I'm guessing. And that measures the temperature. And if that's not present, you know, this thing will error, and that's what it was doing. Anyway, all these sensors have to be controlled and monitored. How do they do it? It's all done right back here. This is the main board, and I'm going to have to actually take this sensor off so you can see underneath here. And we'll talk about the main board a little bit and what it does and how all this works. Let me get my screwdriver. Well, there it is. Here's the board that's responsible for running this entire vacuum. If we look over here, this is where the power comes in and all these discrete components and voltage regulators. Then, it clocks it, and over here is our processor. And that is an AT91 processor. It's a 212 pin package, and that is the brain of this machine. Now, this is running Linux according to their website, and it runs at 160 megahertz, and it has on board 128 meg of flash RAM. And there's another 256 that's under this board on a flash chip that you can't see. And it also has a USB interface. And this processor is actually capable of running up to 96 devices. There's actually 96 I/O pins on it, which is pretty huge, but it needs to be for all these sensors. Now, like I said, the OS that's running on this is Android, but there's also platforms where this can run actually Windows and Android too, but they chose the Linux. And like I said, there's an additional 256 meg of RAM underneath this board. I'm not going to pull the board out, but it's sitting under here somewhere. Over here, it looks like the motor controllers in these two packages here, one for the beater bar and the other for the suction fan, I would imagine, I'm guessing. And I really like how they bundled all these wires. It looks quite neat. This was actually made in the USA too, so I think they did a really good job. Other than these connectors, I think they've got a newer version of this now, and hopefully they've got better connectors on there. It just come out. I think it'll be fine after, after I glued those. I think it'll be fine. Anyway, let me go ahead and put this all back together, and I want to concentrate on this infrared sensor. I want to see if I can get this to actually shine on the wall, and I've got a modified camera that will hopefully pick that up. We'll be able to see that beacon as well as the side and drop sensors, hopefully. So let me go ahead and button this back up, and we'll see if it's working correctly now. Okay, I know you can't see it, but it's saying its battery is low and to charge it. So that's what I'm going to do, and then we're going to test out this infrared. But it's not giving a battery error, it's just saying it's low, which makes sense. So I'll charge it and be back. As a follow-up to my LCD repair, and I'll put a link in the description where I fixed an LCD monitor. The purpose for that monitor was to put it on my light bar up here. You can see the image from my Nikon camera right up there. So when I'm doing videos back here, you know, I can just look right up there and see the monitor. Makes it nice. I'll show you the back end of how I mounted that. Well, this is the back side of the monitor, and I made a homemade bracket here. This is a piece of metal out of a computer. I think it was to hold the hard drive, and then I just took some of this threaded rod and I made a bracket out of some metal and some screws, and it goes right up there. That way I can turn this monitor this way, and I can also pivot it. I used an old hinge here, and I did something new on this side too. So you can see on my side here I have a wireless microphone transmitter, and I've got a lavalier mic clipped to my shirt. Let me show you where the receiver is. So right up there on the light bar you can see there's the receiver and the antenna for the wireless microphone receiver, and I ran the wires down, and I'll show you how I plug my camera in. I still have to do a little work with managing all these wires, but I've got two wires coming down and they go right into the camera, and one of them is for the audio and one of them is for the monitor. So this works out really good. Everything's self-contained and there's no wires to trip over or anything like that. If I step back you can see there's plenty of room here, and the only thing that's connected to this tripod on wheels is this wire. And as soon as I get this side of the room done with the green screen, you know, I can then just move this around and not worry about tripping over lights or wires. So that's what I'm up to. Okay, let's get back to that vacuum cleaner. So here's what I have rigged up to see the infrared. This is a security camera that I bought at Harbor Freight that I never used, and they're capable of seeing infrared. And I've got it wired up to this RCA monitor. Okay, you can probably see my hand there, and then I've got my camera pointed at the screen. Yeah, I know it's kind of a ghetto way of doing it, but it'll work. And then I got Rosy over here ready to go. As soon as she's charged up, I'll turn the lights off and we'll see if we can't see that laser. So let's go ahead and turn this on and see what happens. We'll just do a quick spot clean here. So I can see the lights here at the bottom shining on the floor, and I can just see inside that turret it blinking. This infrared system that I have for pickup isn't very great. I was hoping for better. I would actually have to modify a camera to be able to see, you know, the light coming out of that turret. If you've ever used a line leveler, laser line leveler with the lines on the wall, that's what this is actually producing. And this is not really showing it off, but you can see the drop sensors on the bottom, and you can also see on the right side there that there's a wall sensor, and those are showing quite nicely. Look up at the turret. I think you can see it kind of blinking there a little bit. There's a good shot of the wall sensor. But anyway, this is my feeble attempt to show the infrared sensors. I'm a little disappointed with it, but yeah, anyway, that's how it works. Okay, I decided to go ahead and modify this camera so that we could probably see the infrared laser sensor better on the vacuum cleaner. So I'm going to put this video as a supplement, a second video to the Neato vacuum cleaner for anybody who wants to learn how to modify their camera. And hopefully when we're done, we'll be able to see the laser sensors better with this modification. So anyway, I think it's modified enough to go ahead and do the job. Now this is a very cheap camera, so I'm going to have to just do my best and try to catch the infrared laser on the vacuum cleaner. So let's go ahead and get going on that. Okay, here we go. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video on the Neato robotic vacuum cleaner. This truly is an amazing little machine with a lot of sensors and even a computer on board. So please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Leave us a comment below if you'd like to see more of this kind of video. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.